What's up, guys? Josiah LaRue here. So today we're going to be talking about some of the latest news in technology, including iCloud leaks, new Intel CPUs, and an amazing 5K display. So for our first bit of news, we're going to be talking about iCloud security hacks. So I'm sure you've probably heard of it from a lot of different major news sources or whatever, but last weekend a bunch of hackers ended up leaking nude photos or other compromising photos of many female celebrities, including Kate Upton and Ariana Grande, Selena Gomez, Jennifer Lawrence, some of the other big ones, and it was a really big thing. Now, aside from the fact that I know, as men or, as people, we like to look at, celebrities in compromising positions or whatever, but moving away from that, the social aspect or whatever, I'm going to be talking more about the security and the technical side of it. So, first of all, this was an invasion of a personal iCloud account or multiple personal iCloud accounts. And by the fact that so many different people were hacked, I'm thinking that, and a lot of people agree with me, in that this was actually a group of people going after these celebrities and not just one person. Also, this was done over a long period of time, and then they just chose to do it on this particular date. No one knows really why, but, that was the date, and that was the fappening, as it's called, or whatever. Anyways, so, yeah, multiple iCloud accounts were hacked. Apple has come back and said, after several days of review of our systems or whatever, that their systems were not to blame, that it was actually a loophole that had already been closed previously, so it does kind of date this attack as it's been a while, as well as this was a known issue that Apple is going to be updating in their new iOS 8. iOS 8 is actually going to be dropping on Tuesday, so not too long to wait for that. But how did they do it? No one knows exactly, but a lot of people think that it had a lot to do with the security and the password reset questions that are very common. A lot of companies, including Apple included or whatever, force you to choose very generic stuff. And when you're a celebrity, it's hard to keep this information private. I mean, your mother's maiden name, that's on a Wikipedia page. You can easily look up the parents of people, date of birth, all sorts of these common, supposed to be secret, but when you're a celebrity, all that knowledge is common knowledge. So it's pretty easy for hackers to get in there and fire that information out, reset the password, and then get into these accounts and then start sharing the photos. So Apple has said that they are going to be fixing this, or already have, or whatever. And it really just comes down to, as a whole, as this society progresses through the internet and through our expansive use of internet, cloud-based storage, or whatever, the sense of privacy is really evaporating extremely quickly. If you do something online, you have to remember that chances are it's going to come out eventually, particularly if you ever become anyone of any sort of importance. Anything that you've done on Facebook, on any type of social media, even 4chan or Twitter or anything, it's going to come out, and people are going to use it to try and compromise you. So people have to start becoming more aware of what they're doing and what they're allowing to go online, and how that may affect you in the long term. Now, I'm not going to blame any of these women for, taking these compromising photos, as it were. I mean, the way that they were doing it was privately in their own homes or hotel rooms or whatever. I mean, they weren't sharing it. They weren't trying to make pornography or whatever. They were just taking intimate photos with themselves or with, their lovers or whoever. So it's not the fact that they took the photos. It's the fact that people compromised the system and started spreading it around. So that's the issue. But you do need to be aware that if you take these and you store them on a site, a good chance they are going to come out eventually. So people have to be aware of that. Don't be storing personal nude photos on a photo sharing site. Nothing is secure. And until Apple or the other cloud people start using two-factor authentication, so not only do you have to have a password, but also a personalized PIN code, like something that they text you, or some sort of other, AES 256-bit encryption, it's not a very good idea to store photos like that on an account that can be hacked like this. So just something to consider. Fortunately, Apple has come back and said, at least for right now, that, you know, they aren't to blame for it. It was hackers just doing stuff that they can't really control. But just an FYI tip for everyone in the future, be careful of what you store on your cloud accounts, because it may come out eventually. In our next bit of news, we're going to be talking about new Intel CPUs. So this last week or so, Intel's been pretty busy with launching their new CPU line. Now, what a lot of people have been hoping was for the regular i3, i5, and i7s to be refreshed with, you know, new Devil's Canyon or whatever, new hardware. But what actually came out was new Haswell-E, as a lot of people are calling it, or Haswell Enthusiast, but based on the Haswell chipset, but enthusiast grade, or the higher end of CPUs. These are not Xeons, they're pretty much i7 Extremes. I mean, it was what the Extreme Editions were in the Core 2 Duo days, or the early i7s or whatever. It's the Extreme Edition processors that are above what a lot of normal consumers are going to buy. But what can you get out of these? Well, it starts off at 4, 6, and then 8 cores. Yes, the i7 5960X processor has 8 physical cores, all hyper-threaded, so a total of 16 virtual cores. That's like 10 plus 5, 6, 16. I can do math. Anyways, yeah, 16 cores, 8 physical cores. There's so much you can do with that, but it's not just for gaming, but more on that later. So they really have done well in their price point and structuring. You have all your low-end CPUs, I mean, starting with your i3 at about $100, $150, going all the way up to the $300, $400 for, you know, a top i7 4970K for the top of the regular, regular desktop CPUs. And then you start out with the low-end i7 Haswell-E, the new ones, the Enthusiasts. That starts in at about $500 and then goes all the way up to the i7 5960X processor, which is $1,000. But what are the benefits of this new platform? Well, the new Haswell-E's are on the 2011 socket, so it has 2011 physical pin connections, but it's on a new chipset, the X99. And the benefit of the X99 chipset is it has more PCIe lanes, faster speed, and DDR4 support. That's right, for the first time ever we are now using DDR4 memory, so it's a lot faster, but it also uses less energy, so you can overclock it, and it just gives you better performance with the RAM. So all of this is really cool, but it does come at a price. If you're going to go balls to the walls and buy the biggest CPU ever, that's $1,000 for a chip of silicone and metal. That's it. That's all you get. Then you have to pay for $300, $400 for the motherboard. The RAM is, even for 8 and 16 gigs, is about double the cost of DDR3 right now, because DDR4 is brand new, there's not much demand for it, so everything is going to be very expensive. And then you have to throw in, you know, the cooler, or the case, or whatever. I mean, so for a Haswell-E processor, just for parts alone, you're looking at least $2,000, probably $3,000 by the time you add monitors, peripherals, and everything else. So these systems aren't for everyone, but for those who need it, it's there. Not only can you game really well with the overclock ability of these processors to go up to 4.4 gigahertz and beyond, but because of the multiple cores, you can then do video gaming and streaming HD quality at the same time with no lag whatsoever. You could do 3D rendering a lot faster. You could be rendering a video while streaming and playing games. Yeah, the possibilities are endless for what these things can do. These are rock-solid processors that are really the equivalent of a Xeon in many aspects, with the multiple cores and higher onboard cache or whatever, but in a enthusiast-grade platform. So it'll be exciting to see. I mean, this is not something that I would probably buy for a good long while. I can see why I would probably buy one, probably in the lower end, maybe the $500 model, just because I am doing a lot of video crunching and my i5 just gets slammed when I try and do rendering videos. But you know, it's something that I'm not going to do anytime soon, particularly with how new this platform is. Everything is extremely expensive, so you know, give it a couple years, these prices will come down as DDR4 and these CPUs become more and more common and hit the market more. So yeah, cool technology, really cool to see. The other Intel news is that they came out with the Intel M series. M, of course, being for mobile, is a new CPU series that's based on 14 nanometer architecture in etching their tiny CPUs. This is amazing. Once again, Intel is breaking the laws of CPU physics and just crunching these die smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. The benefit of this new CPU is that it allows it to be extremely energy efficient. Even just plugging this CPU in on existing mobile hardware, they doubled the battery life by up to 2 hours additional battery life just for the same, using it for the same process. That's not to include any of their new chipsets or any of their new motherboard hardware that they're going to have to come out with along with this or whatever else. So it's exciting to see. Intel is really stepping up their game in the mobile or light platform use. I mean, what this chip is going to be in tablets or in very light powered notebooks. This isn't a powerhouse, but it's an energy efficient CPU that can still crank out some fairly significant juice for Windows, mobile, or Android or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see where these CPUs pop up in tablets in the next year or so, as it really does give manufacturers an option other than ARAM mobile chipsets like Snapdragon or wherever else. So cool competitor. And it'll be very interesting to see as Intel continues to shrink their stuff down and make it more and more energy efficient, and just to see what they can do. So you have all the way up the extremely power hungry and expensive with the Haswell-E line, going all the way down to the Intel M with energy efficient, not very much power, but cheaper and more energy efficient, so you can get better battery life for your mobile stuff. So yeah, Intel is really building out a nice line of hardware from the top all the way down. So pretty cool. And finally, we're going to be talking about some insane display news. So apparently, or at least according to Dell, 4K is so early 2014, and now we're into 5K. Yes, that's right, 5,000 pixels as a resolution. We've hardly even gotten into 4K, and now you're reaching 5K? This is insane, but let's talk about it. So Dell has announced that next quarter, so the winter quarter, probably right before Christmas or whatever, if you want to buy your significant other this insane monitor, you certainly can, is a 5K display. So what exactly is a 5K display? It's a 28-inch display that has an amazing resolution of 5,180 pixels by 2,880 pixels. That is insane. It's almost the same resolution as a 15-inch MacBook Pro Retina with 218 pixels per inch. Incredibly high resolution, but it's not really for everyone. Particularly since this isn't like a Mac display, it is Windows. It's, you know, presumably going to be going on Windows machines. Windows is really not the greatest at upscaling. Nobody has really come out with an operating system that's really built for 4K, much less 5K. So when you try and scale up your desktop to 5K resolution, it really starts to get crappy, and not many of the built-in Windows applications will really scale that well, and you got tearing, and it's like either really small text or it's really large text, and it just really doesn't look that well. So maybe in Windows 9, which is supposedly coming soon, will we actually start addressing larger monitors, being as this is becoming more and more of a popular thing in resolution to, you know, have the Windows experience look really nice from small all the way up to really large displays. But in the meantime, we're getting the hardware, but we don't really have the software to support it. I mean, we do have the software to support it, it just doesn't look as nice as it could. But for those who really want to push the envelope and have the bleeding edge hardware, here you go. For $2,500, yes, that's the retail price tag, you get a 5K display. But what else does it have? Well, it has two Harman Kardon 16-watt speakers, 6 USB ports, and a SD card reader, as well as an adjustable stand. But I don't know why they're making such a big deal out of that. That really just should be standard. But yeah, a 5K display for $2,500 coming this winter. Pretty cool, but I'm not really seeing the need for it right now, particularly since not even that many people are adopting 4K that much. If I were ever to get like a higher resolution screen, I would probably get a 21:9. It's not as high of a resolution, but the aspect ratio is better when you're having higher resolution pixels, because this is still 16:9 just in 5K. So the 21:9 is a better resolution. But that's another video. If you want to learn more, you can go check out people like Linus Tech Tips or other people who have talked about this before. Anyways, in summary, 5K display coming soon. I'm sure other people will start bringing it out too. LG has always been another pioneer in the really high end, in resolution at least, displays, so I'm sure that they will follow suit pretty quickly. So yeah, 5K display coming soon. So yeah, guys, those are some of the top news stories in tech right now. Of course, everyone is waiting with bated breath, as it were, for the announcements that Apple is going to be making on Tuesday. Speaking of which, I am going to be doing a live show on Tuesday, tomorrow, and live covering the event as it comes on. I'm not sure if Apple is going to be live streaming it. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But I know people like Engadget or other people will be doing a live tweet off and a live announcement there. So I'm going to be covering all that. I'm going to be live tweeting. I'm going to be just doing a live show on YouTube. So if you want to go and watch this with me and experience it together, as it were, subscribe to my channel down below, or if you're just watching this on Facebook or wherever else, go to youtube.com/LaRue1992 and I will be live streaming there. So yeah, pretty cool. I hope to see you there. So let me know in the comment box down below, what about the iCloud security leak? I mean, do you think that it was all iCloud's fault? Do you think it was the people who took the photos' fault? I mean, they just shouldn't have done it. Or do you think it was simply, bad luck or something that, it just happened? Let me know in the comment box down below. Also, what about 5K? Do you think that's a cool technology, something that you would buy? Or do you think that's just, too bleeding edge and too out there? Let me know. I love to read your comments. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching the video. You can check out last week's episode over here. You can check out what I talked about down here. Thanks for watching. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!